Hello, welcome to Spooky People. I'm Clayton Bester.
I'm Scott Russell Hill.
And Scott, I understand you recently had a conversation with Trisha McCagh, the animal communicator, or you could say animal whisperer if you like. And I understand this conversation involves whales, sharks, pigs, horses, dogs, and
Perhaps,
what?
perhaps an insect or two. Gorillas? Yeah. If they're out there, Trisha has talked to them. I've also done a few shows with Trisha in Western Australia as well. And she's just fascinating. She, from a very young age, as you'll find out with my opening question, which concerns eating grass, she lived on a farm and was just connecting through the eyes of the animals into their soul. But as she said, she was born with this thing where she just connects with animals on that level where when they're in trouble or when they're in need, they'll tell her and she's able to tell the vet or the owner or whoever to make the animal well or to make them be happier or to make them just feel better about their existence here on this planet with us humans. So it's a fascinating conversation.
Well, don't hold us in any more suspense. Let's get into it and hear your conversation with animal communicator Trisha McCagh.
Welcome to the Spooky People family. It's lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you, Scott, and thanks for the wonderful invitation. I can't wait to be on here and talk to you. So it's very exciting.
I'm thrilled to be with you. And as a matter of fact, I will say this, Trisha, I don't respect many people because there's a lot of people in our industry who are not the real deal, who say that they do things and they don't. So I'm just going to hump your leg for a minute, like a dog may have done to you over the years as an animal whisperer.
Please do.
I think you're one of the best. So thank you for doing Spooky People today.
Thank you, Scott. That's so lovely of you to say that. And it's a privilege for you to say that. So thank you.
You're welcome. So now that I've done that, I'm going to hit you with my very world appraising first question. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm braced.
Did you once eat grass?
Yes, Scott, I did.
Please tell.
Look, I was 4 years old. My father was actually in livestock and we were living in the country at the time. So we had a pet lamb. And the pet lamb was out the front, because it was sort of country houses and it was out there. And my mum came looking for me. And as she did, she came out the front door, saw the lamb, and then saw me on all fours eating grass. Because, Scott, I saw myself as an animal, as one of them. And I did that with lots of animals, by the way. But eating grass was not bad, Scott, from memory. It was a bit chewy, but hey, it's good for you.
Well, I have Nutrigrain these days. You had grass back then. We all get our fibre from somewhere.
We do.
Tricia,
We,
is this where it all began for you, do you think?
oh, look, I think as soon as I was out of the womb, this was my destiny. But even when I was two, they'd always find me lying on my side in the dirt with the dog, making eye contact. We were just there looking into each other's eyes because, I believe that I was doing this silent language so many years ago, right from the beginning, and I saw animals the same as people, and I still do, by the way.
What did you mean by that?
Well, I think the problem on this planet is that people see animals as lesser than, or they are pets, or, there's different laws for animals compared to people. There's different foods, there's different, the way they're treated, the whole thing. I don't see anything any different. So if an animal is hurt or needs something or needs food or needs to be protected from somebody, then the way I see it is it should be treated exactly the same as a person because they're no different. We are all beings living on this planet, and they, I feel, were there first. And just like Indigenous communities, that we should be looking at the animals and nature and respecting them, honouring them, and not harming them. So that's how I see it. So if something applies to a person, it equally to me applies to an animal. Yeah.
Was Bo the cat the first time that an animal spoke to you?
Yeah, Bo the cat. He spoke to me on his deathbed, actually. And he asked me to, you have to let me go, you have to set me free. But that was the first time I heard words from an animal that were very distinct. Yes, it
That's-
was. And from that day on, I completely decided I knew exactly where my life was going to go, and I'm now in it. So he virtually changed my life from that to that within those two sentences.
And what is that that you just mentioned, Trisha?
I communicate with animals. So it started out really consulting. So people would come to me with their animals and say, I've got a problem. It can be, it can be behavioral, emotional, health, general well-being, um, the afterlife. We connect with animals from the afterlife. So if it's a living animal, we deal with the problems they have and find the solution. If it's an animal that's passed on, we reconnect with that and give people closure, messages, and as it would work with a human, we can do that with animals. But also within all of that consulting, we also do like soul purpose readings where why is that animal with you? And if you have 4 or 5 pets, they're all there for a different reason. So we go into that, and they're usually reflecting you, and they're usually walking a path with you, and they've got a lot of directional abilities in the way they communicate that they can get you back on track and things like that. So there's quite a lot of areas. Um, and it's so interesting because that's sort of for your pet situation in the readings. Then there's what we call group soul, and that's the animals that have come not for an individual experience, but to sit in a collective of giraffes or, elephants, and they want to just experience life on this planet in that. And I connect with them as well. And I've had to do this for the UN at one time. I've done it for the gorillas in Uganda. The Ugandan people asked me to do it for the gorillas. And so I've done it with a lot of collective animals to get an overall. And there's usually a spokes animal or a collective information coming through that really helps them. And, I spoke to many animals during COVID because that was a really big area because the animals in the wild completely had a different experience of the planet with all of us out of the way. And that's an interesting one. And for your audience, they need to know that this planet, if you took all the humans off it, it would still thrive. But if you took the animals off it, not only the planet would die, but so would we. So there is a very big, important component that we hear what the animals have to say and that their environment and everything else that they're working with, they are doing a lot for our environment that you don't even know about. So there's that as well that I do. And then as also a lot of people come to me because they love to communicate with animals, and I run a certified professional animal communicator consultant program. So I have a lot of students now from all over the world that are getting trained up to a very high level so that we can create a very distinct level. Because you mentioned earlier in the podcast that, you know, everybody's of a different standing in our industry. Well, this is sort of like setting the bar for my particular lane, our particular lane, of getting certified people out there so that the general public has someone to trust and know that they are working. And I work with a lot of vets because vets trust me as well. And so they're also contributing to my program. So I'm very excited about all of this. And now we too are podcasting. So that's the other side of things.
Did a racehorse once tell you why he was losing races?
Yes, yes. And I do want to explain that I'm not a lover of racing because of the problems with the horses, and a lot of horses don't want to race. So I want to put that out there. But this particular horse, his person had greatly impressed me with how much she loved animals and how genuine she was. And she said, look, if he doesn't want to do it, I'm happy for him not to do it. But if there's something I can change or if there's something I can help him with. So I spoke to him and he said to me, oh, he said, well, the jockeys are morons. He said, there is a way that I need to run and they stop me from running that way. And I said, well, how can we help you with that? Do you want to give me a game plan and I can tell them? And he said, no, there's a particular jockey that used to let me do this. And he said, that's the one I used to win with most recently. But he said, he rides light. Now, of course, when I said that to the person, she said, well, they're all light. And I said, no, no, rides light, gives him the freedom, is happy to let him run his own race. She goes, you know what? I think I know who you're talking about. And I went, really? She goes, yeah. And she said, can you now tell him that we're going to get that jockey? And I said, well, you'd have to give me a picture of the jockey or tell me who the jockey is so I can transfer that information. Or when's the race? She said, it's actually this Saturday. And I went, well, then show him the jockey on the Friday. Can you get the jockey in there? She goes, I can. I said, show him the jockey and then we'll see how he goes in the race on Saturday. And hopefully, tell the jockey what I've said. So funnily enough, I didn't even really listen to the race because, as I said, I'm not into racing. But on the Monday, she came in elated and she wanted to give me all this money, would you believe? Because her horse had won $300,000
Oh my God.
that race. And so he was winning quite a few races after that until he had an injury.
What's the top one or two messages that you remember passing on to the human beings who were left behind once their treasured family pet passed away?
One of the top things the animals will say is, please don't grieve for me. I'm happy. I worry for you. I need your happiness. So that's the number one thing. Then they will say, try to remember the happy memories, not the last event. And this is your chance now to keep living because I still walk beside you. And then I will be here when you decide to come home. So that is a very common thread with animals on the other side. I would never want to do anything else. Just, it's the most amazing, awesome thing ever. Honestly,
Did
beautiful.
a dog help with information regarding a murder case or a death? Have I worded that in a way that you can respond to?
Yeah, you definitely can. It has happened to me before where somebody contacted me because some people were missing and there was a dog present. And they found the dog running on a road and they rescued the dog, but they knew who the dog was with. And yes, the dog did describe what had happened and gave me a sense of where the people who were missing were. And this was many years ago. I was thinking about this the other day, and I realize now it was like about 8, 9 years ago, if not more. And I didn't give it any thought until it came up on a documentary on TV. And those events actually happened that the dog told me about. If we concentrated more on this consciousness and communication and things like that, we possibly could solve a lot more things. That's a possibility. And I know that the authorities do that, Scott, because we don't have to tell you. Um, you've done it yourself. But can animals? Yeah, they will tell you in all honesty what happened.
Have you ever communicated with a shark?
Yes.
Tell me.
I have questioned about how sharks see humans and in water, with divers and, various things. And the sharks have made it very clear that we don't really have any interest in humans. We just go about our business. And I said, are you aware that humans are very afraid of you? And they said, no, because in this particular case with this shark, he said the altercations I've had with humans, it's the other way around. I would fear them. The sharks are an apex predator, so they keep numbers of other different species down. They also keep those species down so that they don't then overeat the seagrasses, the kelp, other things that make up the coral reefs. So we've got to be very careful what we don't like and what we remove because then you damage something else. It's a very, very finely meshed system, and we should delve in it as little as possible. I would like to speak a bit more to those sharks around Australia, particularly to see what's bringing them in. I mean, I have spoken to beached whales down the bottom of Western Australia, and they are normally deep sea whales, and they've come right in and got on the shore. And their information was that there was an explosion out deep in the ocean. And I said, "What do you know what it was caused from?" And they indicated it was a human reason. And they said it was between land and ice, which is obviously Antarctica. And they said there was explosions down there, and the tectonic plates had moved. The piercing sound in the water was so bad, the only way we could get away from it was getting on land. And 5 days later, we actually had an earthquake in WA, and it was in a direct vertical line to where those whales had beached.
Human beings doing not so secret underground nuclear tests of some sort.
Or something,
Mm.
something they shouldn't be doing, or that people don't know about, but the whales will tell the story. So,
There's a lot of us who know about it. It's just the governments
yeah.
who keep it secret. What's the strangest or weirdest animal you've communicated with?
Well, I can't call any of them weird, Scott, but right down to flies and jellyfish.
Well, they're insects. So I'm thinking of an aardvark or a spiny anteater or something that's a bit weird.
Well, in Africa, I spoke to everything. So porcupines, and we'll put a porcupine. That'll be an unusual animal. I'm sure I'll be able to think of plenty more afterwards.
What's one of the funniest um, communications that you've had with any animal?
Oh, geez, funniest. Probably a pig that said to me once, I said, "You're listless and your person wants to know why." And he went, "Yeah, but that's because I don't have my couch so I can watch the news with her. That's changed." So here's a pig on a farm watching news with their person on a couch. He broke the couch. So she had to get rid of it. And that's why they stopped watching the news. But we reformed a new way of doing it. And he could now watch the news with his person. And he said, "Please remind her to bring the marshmallows."
And did they?
They did. And
Good.
they lived happily ever after. Yeah, he was a huge 200-kilogram pig. Mhm. Yeah.
And the final question, what's your proudest moment so far?
Wow. I think the proudest moment is, well, one of the proudest moments would be getting my practitioner program up and running and being a world first of this caliber. And I think also realizing that animal communication can change the world. And I'm now developing a children's program to do just that.
Which would mean what?
Well, connecting children to nature, to animals, get them communicating. Because once you are in connection with something, you feel it and it becomes a way of life. You'll never harm it. You'll be a very kind person and you will treat everything with love and respect. And I think that's kind of what we need on this planet right now.
Well, I'm going to leave you with a little story of mine, if I may tell you a story. My dear cat Spiri, and here's a picture of Spiri and me, and he used to be a good pillow. He'd lie on the couch and I'd put my head on him, and here I am holding him. He was not a stray, he was the neighbour's cat, and the neighbours had a dog, and it used to beat up Spiri. I called him Spiri, short for spirit. So Spirit came into my place all the time, and eventually I adopted him. And the funny thing with that, and look, I'm giving the whole thing away now, somebody that I used to work with, Trisha, the person who lived next door with the dog and where Spiri used to live was her auntie. And a few years later, this person said to me, "Did you ever see the cat next door to where you used to live at my auntie's place?" I went, "No." Every night I'd go home and pat him. He was
Oh,
with me. So I'm sorry I lied about that, but he came to live with me. Anyway,
I think he was meant to, don't you?
he chose me.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, he unfortunately got cat dementia. And he used to sit on the vanity basin in the bathroom and just cry. And it was just gut wrenching to see him do it. And he'd also go into a spare room and just sit in the corner and do nothing. So that was the last 6 months of his life. I
Yeah.
finally said to the vet, okay, it's got to happen. It's going to happen on Friday. Give me 1 more week with him. I made the time to bring him in, to send him off to the big sleep. And Trisha, the final day was a Friday. He hardly ate anything up till that day. I hardly saw him. He hid in the spare room, but he came out on the day of the Friday, and I was doing readings that day to take my mind off of everything. And Trisha, he came and sat next to me and lay down on the floor next to me, and he hadn't done that for over a year. And he was so calm and alert and looking me in the eyes again. He knew. And
Yeah.
I took
Yeah.
him to the vet. I didn't go in with him because I said, I don't want to see him passed away. I want to remember him like this. And she was so lovely. I knew that he was okay then. But the fact that he came out of his hiding, out of his cat dementia, sat next to me, well, lay down on the floor with me through all my readings, and then was as calm as anything when I took him to the vet. So he's one of the most special animals that I've ever had. Dear little Spiri, who I stole from the neighbour. Sorry, neighbour, but he didn't like living at your place.
No, no, he was meant for you. And that happens a lot. And not only that, he did know. And they are giving you a great memory, last memory, because they hate the way we humans remember the gory stuff. He wants to give you a great memory, but not only that, is also to let you know this is the right decision. And I'm happy with it. So they're so kind right to the end. They're so selfless. It's all about you, not about them. So that's something for us to think about
Yeah.
and see. So animals are great. So it's awesome.
Trisha, your contact details are what?
It is animaltalk.com.au.
And your podcast is called what?
Animal Talk with Trisha McCagh.
Yay.
Easy.
And if you're listening to this or watching this, if you've got questions for Trisha about your animals or anything to do with animals, please put them below. We'll put them all together. And at some stage in the near future, Trisha, we'd love to have you back and answer our listener and viewer questions.
Fabulous. And we'll be looking forward to talking to you again, Scott. Thanks.
Thanks, Trisha. So, Clayton, have you ever fed marshmallows to a 200-kilogram pig?
No, but it's on the bucket list, I can tell you after that conversation. Wow. Wow. So much there with Trisha. And I just love that she's picking up the energy of the animals. Like you talk to me about energy you pick up from people, but picking up that energy, and we see it with all sorts of animals that you can tell their moods, and she can go right into it and to that information. And I love that story about the whales. Something's going on there. There is something dodgy, I feel, but we'll leave that to someone else to talk about. But that is absolutely fascinating. I think that was one of the most amazing conversations I've heard you do.
Thank you. And thank you to Trisha. Back to the whales for a second. When she got into that and brought that up, I've been curious about that for a long time. Why are they beaching themselves? What are they trying to get away from? And I never considered that it was any man-made reason, because all the experts are going, we don't know why they're doing it, But when Trisha started talking about that, I went, a man-made explosion, because there's a lot of UAP/UFO phenomena happening in Antarctica. So no wonder the whales and other sea creatures are trying to get away from whatever it is that the human race is putting out there. I think that is something we should investigate further, Clayton. Antarctica.
I do as well. Antarctica. What is going on down there? There are so many things that are not being talked about that should be talked about. I think it involves our future.
Yeah. And do you know who I've made friends with lately, Clayton, in the animal kingdom that I never thought I would? Stumpy lizards.
Oh, okay, cool. They're good.
And they live around the room that I'm sitting in here now, and they live their uninterrupted life in this semi-rural area that I'm broadcasting to you from. But they love banana. And it's got to the stage now where they actually stand outside my door and look at me through the window when I'm watching TV with that, where's the banana? Where's the banana? But I never thought, being a cat person, that I'd ever make friends with stumpy lizards. Animals are so trusting. Once you win their trust, it's a wonderful thing. And they've all got different personalities. So I've learnt something from stumpy lizards. I'll have to get Trisha to tune into them one day and find out how they feel about me. Where is it? Where's our banana? Where's our strawberry?
And folks, you know what's going to happen next? It's going to be a lounge, Scotty and the Stumpy Lizards all watching TV together and commenting on the news. We all know it. We're all there. Suggestions, comment below. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. And we look forward to seeing you again soon on Spooky People.
See you next time.
I'm feeling spooky.